Okay, so on this episode, we're gonna talk about a few things. Truthfully be told, and they're kind of weird. Personally, we've had an ungodly number of deaths past 2 weeks. One being Queen Elizabeth. Now that's just it's a weird thing. I think to look at. I think personally, we're gonna look at it. It looks weird, right? Because now granted, it is mucked up. Mucked up means messed up, but that's neither here or there. I think that's kind of a weird thing to look at. Like, I think I've seen um, both sides of this argument of what she's done. I think, there are people, especially in the UK that feel that, um, it's a sad thing, but especially people in the States or the United States, they feel the same kind of uh, sorrowness in kind of a weird sense that I think the UK sees it as a monarchy, but then, there are some people that just hate the monarchy. But I think, you're like one of those people, either you see it as a symbol, and that being that she is one of the last symbols of that monarchy in the British, in the UK. Well, I think the Guardian didn't really see anything, about her death, but, we talk about the different responses we've gotten from her death, which is kind of a weird spot for me because I think, like, I don't feel either on one side. I just feel that, that it's a terrible way to die. She died at 96 years old, which is, is a weird thing, I think, only because no one expected her to go on the way that she did. And I think, or it being more natural or suspicious, depending on how you, uh, if you're a theorist and think that, well, that's kind of strange. She did live to be 96, which kind of mucked up. Overall, we got to experience kind of uh, the grieving process. Those couple days where you were able to grieve. That's very something. I think that is my thing. My thing is I don't want to um, just talk about just talk about like situations without letting it like simmer throughout like a couple days and to see how I feel about it. Wow, this isn't like news about music. Where this is kind of weird thing to kind of approach. Like, I think, you can feel one way about like the monarchy, and then you can hate it for like the stuff that you know has been around for years. I think that does come with being around for X amount of decades or X amount of centuries, depending on how you want to view it. But it's a weird thing to now. I know centuries are every 100 years, but I think if you live past like the average rate of living is people in their 50s and 60s to their 80s and 90s, you're kind of living the way or living your life the way that you wanted to, in a perspective that you've done your rights, you've done your wrongs, you kind of experienced everything. And I think that's what I see now, the way the royal family has been acting towards the way Meghan and Harry have done it, depending on how you hate it. As I said, because you there are some people in a monarchy that people just hate, some people that they love. That's how the that's how the royal family has always been perceived, I think. And so, just looking at it, I think that's kind of where I'm kind of stunned. I think because I've seen them both. And the second person we're going to talk about is David A. Arnold. I gave this one a little more time because I didn't want to talk about it the week that it happened. Because I said if I talk about it the week that it happens, there's really no emotion or no thought process behind it. okay, and that's kind of a weird thing to like look at because you know my first encounter, like I have no, we don't really have like close friends or um any relation to it. I think I have no relation to him and anything. So anyway, in the states that did happen, and there's um the first time I actually found out about him was through the Fat Ballerina special on Netflix, which I think was great. I think on the U.S. Netflix, on the states, whichever you prefer. Um, it was kind of my first time hearing about him, and I think he did a lot of shows. He did a lot of specials. I think, especially the way he will be remembered is a way that I think a lot of people want to be remembered. Um, which is a weird thing. Yeah, I think to me because as I said with the Queen, they will be remembered in their best ways or in their worst ways. You're one or the other, right? Especially with death, we experienced the impact they left. He was a writer, I believe. He was a writer on one of the Disney channels with the rapper that used to. Um, anyway, she has her own show on Disney, and he was one of the writers. And I think we look at that and we understand that things happen without really realizing it. And I think that is why, like looking at it and him dying of natural causes, I think that's what he was a comedian. He was a writer. I think overall, like I think that is very a good way you might ever want to live your life. Which is a weird thing to say, but I think he's somebody to look up to. I think, as I said with the Queen, you can look up to the Queen, you can look up to David Arnold because they did had a huge impact on what they did when they were alive. Um, the way I phrase that sounds a little weird, but that's the way I was taught to phrase it. So I'm gonna phrase it that way because they were so impactful. This next one is P and P, and that's Big Rock, and he's an amazing artist. And I think this phrase of the game says that you can't wear a lot of jewelry. It's a weird thing. Like you can't wear a lot of jewelry in a lot of places, and I hold some problems with the way that he died, and I think it's a weird thing, right? Because you hold an issue with the reason he died and the way he died, but because I'm letting this one simmer less, and I think you'll kind of hear it. You'll be like, he let this one simmer less because it sounds the way it does, and to some degree, that's probably true. I do hold this one a little bit closer to me. Like I haven't met anyone on this list I'm talking about for this week, but like if we were to talk about the death of him, right? Like he was an amazing artist, amazing songwriter. Vocally, he was on a lot of backtracks. He did a lot of backup for a lot of people. Drake, he's done a lot of backup, and he was to a degree breaking the mainstream of an event that I think is like it's rare for because we've had a lot of artists die. Um, but this does, if we look at it, if you're labeled an artist or a rapper, especially in this day and age, you seem to have a risk of dying by unnatural causes. But I think that is part of, as I'm saying, he's the only one on this list that didn't die of natural causes. He died pre-instant, and like the hour it came out, we heard what happened, and that's my problem with social media, but also my problem with us not paying enough attention to rappers, not because people will say being a rapper is the most dangerous job nowadays, and I hold some arguments with that. I don't think that's to a rappers like rappers personally. I think that's just anybody. I think if you happen to be in
it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
But as I said, let's see if we have any sponsors, and then I'll get into the depth of it. I think that's kind of my problem with it. Like, I think it's a weird thing because, especially with rappers, you make X amount of dollars, but you're never fully protected. And we can argue that a lot of rappers in these situations aren't having the security with them, and security, if you make X amount of dollars, is very important. I think that goes without saying. But I don't know if this could have been prevented. Well, I do genuinely, if you ask me, I feel like this could have been prevented. I think, especially when you're a rapper, the unspoken rule is that if you go to a place to eat, you don't tag the place, or you don't take pictures of the place or post them anywhere on social media. Because anybody has a lot of social media preferences, but you don't do anything about it until you're done with the place, or you're done eating, or you're gone, and you come preferably with security. Now I know people will say, well, if you come with security, then you have to feed the security, and security is not always watching what they're eating, which is another issue. But I think this overall then becomes an issue of how can we change it, because he posted a picture when he was walking into the restaurant, which gives somebody enough time. She posted the location of the actual dinner place, which, granted, if you take enough time to look for all of this information, then you knew it was going to happen. But we also don't know the person involved, right? And then people in the bar, if you're a flashy person, which it doesn't seem that P&B Rock was, but everybody's different on the special days where they want to get dressed up. He could have been rocking a chain or something, and they were like, well, that's an expensive chain, I'm gonna go rob it. I don't think this has any relation to what the game is saying when he says that LA is a dangerous place, especially with jewelry. I think you have to kind of know when to be flashy and when not to be flashy, and especially if you're not going to like a 5-star restaurant, you don't need to be like flashy. But I know that's in some people's personality, which I would say is kind of a weird way to do it. So overall, I just think that there are flaws that were like missed here, but I really can't praise or blame anybody, because I think there's just, you never can predict human behavior, and I think it's sad that we keep losing rappers. Like I think we've lost rappers. This might be the third month out of the year we're losing them at so much a weird time that it does feel like that. If you're a rapper, it is very hard to. It seems like a dangerous job, but I think we're missing security. Like security, now I get it. You want to be free sometimes, but that don't mean you can't rock with security or professional security and be safe, because you also know that. And I get it. People say he could have ordered out and could have had it Uber, but sometimes you don't want people to know your location, which is another problem I have a problem with. But overall, to me, if you ask me, the standard, I think some more security needs to be taught more. I think, especially for rappers. But I think if we were to argue, like, which one do I not understand, I think this is probably the one where I'm just like, the protocol, the unspoken rule of literally being a rapper. And I don't know if this could have been prevented personally, but I do think with the right chances, this probably could have been prevented. I say that loosely because I don't know the guy personally, but I don't know. I just think overall, better rules, better guidelines, better protection, security reasons, this could have been prevented. And I am very truly sorry because of these 3 people dying, but also because P&B Rock died with. I was hoping he would have security, but for vehicles, it's kind of a weird thing to watch, and I don't think 69 was was okay for making that comment after, but they were in a beef and people are petty. So, as I say, human error is the common denominator is just human error. So, we'll see.